Welcome back to Knowledge Resources Speaker Feature, where we sit down with a presenter for one of our upcoming events. Today, we're sitting down with Dr. Loyiso Mbabane, who will be speaking at the upcoming Organisational Development Conference on the 23rd and 24th of February. Dr. Loyiso has an incredible CV. He has a PhD in business administration, as well as 3 different master's degrees in fields ranging from business economics to industrial psychology. He has been on the Presidential Committee for Remuneration, as well as being the Deputy General for the Eastern Cape. He has had an incredible career, and we're so excited to have him present on the capabilities and competencies for the future OD practitioner at the upcoming conference. Loyiso, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Amy. It's a pleasure to be part of this conference.
Now, I'd like to jump straight into our first question, which is, considering your many different spheres of study, your many different specialities, what have you learned from studying so many different directions that OD practitioners can use today?
That's a good question. Thank you. I've had to study 3 master's degrees because I think some of these offerings are too narrow and limited. Some of them have to because they have to focus on a particular discipline. But unfortunately, in the case of industrial organizational psychology, its field is broad. So it cannot be narrow because they're dealing with organization. What is an organization? It could be anything from a private company, SMME, and NGO. Industrial could be anything. So one of my main concerns, in fact, shortcomings of my education in industrial psychology, which is where I started with a master's in industrial psychology from Wits University, 1995. It did not equip me to understand the new South Africa and the demands that organization placed on a practitioner. Even within the corporate sector, companies were transforming. They wanted assistance with diversity. They wanted assistance with even changing their structures and their cultures. And the industrial and organizational psychology of 1995 really did not, it acknowledged those political, economic, social things, and open systems things, but it was a closed system. And what I found with economics in particular, I have an MSc in economics from London University. With economics, they've really tried over the past 3 decades to open up economics from the classical orthodox economics of supply and demand and everything equilibrating with prices being controlled by the free markets and all that. So I found that in economics, really it has broadened and it has included a lot of understanding that assisted me in my various roles, both working in transformation of the country, with corporate transformation, working in the field of remuneration of public office bearers, who are remunerated very differently from private office bearers. The presidents and the cabinet and the judges in South Africa have got a different remuneration system. And how do we assist them to do that? So I think there are a lot of things that industrial psychology can learn if it can stop paying lip service to the open systems and really become an open system. And teach industrial psychologists how to deal with political economy. Because when you get to a company like Sanlam or Anglo-American or ESCOM, you don't understand the organizational politics and the framework that they're under that will limit you on your perfect models. You come with these perfect models and scales that you've researched as a psychologist. You can't even get to beyond the beyond base 1, because the leadership it's not aligned with you. There's so many other conflicting things working against you. And as an organizational and industrial psychologist, you really don't understand power. You don't understand the societal dynamics. You can't respond to a pressure from the unions and so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot that OD can learn from public management and how it has opened up to become multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary. People are no longer obsessed with their silos and with their little fields of expertise. And today you can really learn and read anything you want fast. So the teaching should enable you to be able to acquire a broad, diverse set of skills and still be an industrial and organizational psychologist.
I couldn't agree with you more, Loyiso. I think in any country, it's incredibly difficult to practice employee policies without considering politics. But in South Africa, certainly, it is almost impossible to be an OD practitioner without considering the political implications. Now, this brings me to my second question. You've, of course, worked in politics at an incredibly high level. You've worked with the president on presidential committees and been the head of the Eastern Cape. What have you learned from applying strategies at such a high level that OD practitioners can use in their own practice today?
So there's a lot that's still required in OD that we still have to learn. You know, even now with another crisis in South Africa of corruption and the zone of commission. You know, we have to deal with institutions that have collapsed. Where was OD? Where was industrial psychologists who understands performance management? Why did we not measure the performance of these people? Why were their incompetence not measured? Why are we not developing skills and organizational systems to a barometer for corruption, a barometer for incompetence? So that even if you don't have agency, you are reporting to 3 different levels, you can at least call it out scientifically. So there's a lot that we can learn going forward. And I think OD still has a lot of role that it can play if it positions itself to be relevant.
I think that's incredibly encouraging, Loyiso. And I love what you said about the ethics of it, of OD's role in the development of politics in this country and in the future of the country itself. Here at KR, we believe in developing the country further, and we believe that OD practitioners can have a part in that. What advice would you give OD practitioners considering their role in taking the country forward?
Yeah, no, I would want to see OD and industrial psychology being relevant in Africa. Like I'm saying now, if you move away from your mainline corporate, mainline industry into your small SMME, Africa is largely SMMEs, very entrepreneurial, driven, not so many formal structures, but you've got people with a strong entrepreneurial spirit. What Joseph Schumpeter called the Unternehmergeist, you know, the undertaking spirit. There's an Unternehmergeist. They've got, they just undertake things. They're thriving. So we have a lot that we can learn in terms of our models and system, adapt them to the African context. We need to be open in terms of developing new systems as Africans that speak to our continent and that respect its culture, not pay lip service to it, but actually understand what drives those economies. It won't be driven by the same dynamics as the West and as USA. It won't be driven by the same dynamics as China either. Africa will have its own dynamics. And I don't believe that industrial and organizational psychologists have done enough research into what makes Africa tick, and also in how to deal with the problems, many problems of Africa, and how to stimulate performance in an environment like. I think I would like our practitioners to rise to that challenge and see that industrial psychology is not seen as also being archaic. It's not dismissed in the same way that classical economics and those disciplines have been dismissed.
I agree completely, Loyiso. I think one of the dangers of globalization is that we forget the role of cultures and we try to mass produce strategies, which of course will not work in Africa. And HR and OD really is in the position to really connect with those cultures and build strategies that work in those countries. Now, we'll be diving a little bit more into this and many other topics in an article that we will be publishing within the next 2 weeks. We'll be diving into Loyiso's background as a political activist, his experience in the transformation of 1994, and the role that organizational development and industrial psychology played there. So if you'd like to read more about that, be sure to give us a follow on LinkedIn and Facebook, as we will be publishing that there. Now, just as a closing question, Loyiso, what are you looking forward to at the upcoming conference, and what can our attendees look forward to?
Yeah, no, I think it comes at the perfect time, this conference, 36 months, literally 36 months after COVID, started in February 2019, 36 months after that. February 2022, there's the things are in a state of flux out there. There's so much change taking place, change that even OD and change management people could never have dreamt of taking place in 36 months. So we need a conference of this nature to be able to engage, to share experiences. I don't think anybody should come with an arrogant attitude that they know it all. I think it's in a post-World War. I actually call it a post-World War era, because COVID-19 has had World War-like effects, devastation, death, economic effects, and so on. So in that aftermath of a World War, it's very important to get ideas quickly from different people. The fastest way of getting it is to converge or have a colloquium of different minds to learn from. So I think that is why it's important to have these conferences now, so that we can then share experiences, best practices on OD, on change, on how to deal with this new work environment that is facing us, the new employee, the new performance management, the new management of people, and flexible work environments, and all those things. Some of which we studied at university, but those were nice flexi time. This is not flexi time. These are very serious transformation, people working from home and having to be managed differently, and refusing to be structured and to have old systems and structures and timelines and pressures put on them. So I think I look forward to hearing from various speakers about how they're handling these issues, getting practical examples, and also learning from global best practice of how they're dealing with the post-COVID situation.
Thank you so much for joining us, Loyiso. As I've mentioned, we will have an article coming up, so you can keep an eye out for that. If you would like to join up for the conference, there will be a link in the description, and we look forward to seeing you there.